Hey there everybody, it's Mike DiLisio, and today I'm going to be reviewing Viking See-Saw from designer Reiner Knizia and publisher Itten Games. Viking See-Saw is a dexterity stacking game with a series of very unique components. Let's head over to the table, I'll show you what the game is about, then we'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts. Alright, here we see a game of Viking See-Saw all set up on the table. Let's assume that this is a 4-player game and every player is going to have their own little storage area here that is going to contain a number of different components that they are all trying to get onto this Viking ship. They are made up of different types of materials that all have different weights and stacking capabilities. So you've got this kind of amber nugget here that you can place on the ship. You've got these 2 spheres. This one is kind of like a glass ball. Here you've got a metallic ball that has a different amount of weight to it. You also have these 2 metal cubes, one that is silver and one that is gold, that both have, again, different weight values to them. All right, so on your turn, what you're going to do is you're going to place one of the items that's in your storage area onto the boat that is raised. So at this point we have 6 pieces of luggage here in the middle of the ship, 1 piece starting over here, and so every piece at this point is going to have to go over on that side of the ship. So if the first player's here, they can decide what they want to put over on that side. The thing is, you don't want to tip the boat over, because if you do, you have to take one of these luggage pieces from the center of the boat. So maybe they're going to play it safe and put on their crystal shard, because it's pretty light. I have a feeling it's not going to knock that ship over. So it goes there. Hey, we're good. Next player is evaluating what they have. They might do the same thing. They might put their Viking on there too. All right, because this is pretty light. Now, they could just place it on the boat if they wanted to try to stack it on something that was already there, which wouldn't really work here. You can do that because if something falls over when another player puts it on, they have to take it into their storage. So, hey, we're still good there. Maybe this player decides they want to play it a little bit riskier. They want to put maybe their glass bead. This feels a little bit heavy. Hard to tell. Is this going to be enough to tip it over? Oh, it is. All right. So that player tipped the boat over. They have to take one of the luggage from the center of the boat, and they're going to add it to their region here. Okay? So they take one of the pieces, and now this is something that they can put on the boat. They actually have to try to put it on the boat if they want to win on a later turn. We come back over here. Now, there's quite a bit over here. Maybe they're going to take a risk and put one of these metal blocks, because it's a good chance to get one of these out of their supply when, you know, there's a bit of weight over on that side. This gold one feels really heavy. Do they take that risk? Can they get away with it? They can. See, they got rid of that big heavy gold. Now the pressure's on. Maybe this player wants to stack their Viking on top there. Oh, see, now it's precarious, because if the next player puts something on there and knocks that over, they're going to have to take that. So let's try to put this really light amber nugget here and hope for the best. Come on. No! Well, at least they didn't knock over the Viking there. So they have to take this piece. Now maybe they want to offload this piece that they took on an earlier turn. Maybe they want to stack it on top of the Viking there to make it precarious for the next player, who now is going to try to do something a little bit careful. Oh, no, they knocked it over. They have to take it. Okay, you're going to continue on like this until all of the pieces of luggage have been removed or someone has gotten rid of all their pieces. If somebody gets rid of all their pieces, they win the game immediately. If all of the pieces of luggage have been removed, then you're going to evaluate who has the lowest weight of goods remaining. And how do you determine that? You just put them on the boat. Simple enough. Whichever side stays up, raised, is going to have the lighter amount of contents, and they're going to win the game. All right, there you have it. That is Viking See-Saw. Let's head back over, and I'll let you know what I think. All right, well, there you saw Viking See-Saw, and before we get into the meat of my thoughts on this, a couple of things I want to point right off the bat. This is a tricky game to kind of approach as a review because you're not comparing it to every game out there. At least I'm not. I'm comparing this game, when I'm thinking about my positives and negatives, I'm comparing it to other games of its ilk that I've played. Games that kind of give me the same kind of feel, that play as quickly, that have a kind of a dexterity element to it. So just keep that in mind, that this review is through that prism. It's being done through that prism. All right, first thing I want to talk about are some benchmarks. These are high-level ideas that I like to consider when I'm assessing whether a game works for me or doesn't. The first thing is setup and teardown. And in the case of Viking See-Saw, there's very little setup to it and very little teardown. It comes in this adorable, thin, small box that is actually part of a series that the publisher Itten Games has put out. I believe there are 5 in this series. They almost look like elongated matchboxes. I really like the form factor to it, and the setup is very simple. You pull these components out of the box, you distribute the components to the players, you put the little flag in the boat, and you're good to go. You're set up in just moments, and you're ready to play, which is essential because the game is over so quickly. The other thing I like to talk about is rules, and here's another caveat I have to point out at the beginning. This is a game that I imported from Japan. It did not come with English rules in the box. I could not find English rules anywhere, either on the publisher's website or on Board Game Geek. However, I was able to use a translation program that I do believe, was able to get me the rules to the game in such a way that I feel pretty confident that I was playing it as it was designed, as it was intended. It's a very simple game, and even if a couple of little things were quote-unquote lost in translation, I don't think it really matters all that much. It's a very silly dexterity stacking game. The rules as they were, I feel like were fine. Again, keeping in mind that I was running them through a translator app. The next thing I want to talk about are art and components, and boy, I've really got nothing negative to say here. Usually I'll start with things that didn't work for me and then go into things that did work for me. Nothing negative for me in this game. I thought the components were absolutely terrific. I mean, that's really what this game is about. It almost feels like an art project that's also a game. You've got this lovely seesaw boat that is kind of the centerpiece component. And then everyone has those different little trinkets that have a very, very satisfying tactile element to them. Really, part of the game is feeling the weight, the heft of things, and then trying to determine what is your best option. But beyond that, it's also trying to put a little stacking element to it. It's like, yeah, I can put this on there, but if I stack it on something else, I'm making it more likely that somebody else is going to have to pick it up. The components elevate this game, absolutely, because there's not a whole lot of game there. It's a very, very simple game. You're choosing one of your little components in your supply, you're placing it on the raised end of the ship. That's it. The fact that these components are so lovely, so tactile, so just pleasing to manipulate is what elevates this game quite a bit. All right, well, let's just talk about the overall game impressions then. The only thing that I'm going to talk about that is slightly negative is that there is a bit of looseness to the rules. Let's assume even that I have the rules exactly as they're supposed to be understood. There's a little bit of looseness there as far as how you put the components on the ship. What happens if the components go into the middle section of the ship? I assume that kind of like that they've fallen and you have to take it into your supply. But from what I could tell anyway, again, I don't have the English translated rules, they didn't really address that. Again, this is a 10-minute silly dexterity stacking game. If you're getting that hung up on it, probably not the game for you. So that's the only negative I can say. The positive, I feel like this game does exactly what it sets out to do, which is to create a fun, silly, not to be taken too seriously, 10-minute dexterity stacking exercise. I feel like it does it very, very well. It's so fast. It's one of those games where you feel like you're not going to just play it once. You're going to play it a few times, and even if you play it multiple times, you're probably still done in less than a half hour. This is also one of those games where if you have it out on the table and people are walking by, they're going to want to play it too, because you can sit down and watch someone playing it for 30 seconds and you know how to play the game. And you're going to want to do it. You're going to want to pick up the pieces. You're going to want to feel the pieces. You're going to want to kind of weigh them. You're going to want to be telling people what they should do. Oh yeah, put the silver the cube on there. It's just one of those types of games where it's very interactive. You're rooting against people to do well on their turn. You're trying to psych them out. You're trying to, oh, don't mess up, that kind of a thing. Very silly, very fun, great table presence. Overall, I feel like, again, in the context of what this game is, it does it very, very well. And so for that reason, I'm going to be giving Viking See-Saw an 8 out of 10, a strong recommendation, keeping in mind that it is a silly, quick, not to be taken terribly serious game that so much of it relies upon the quality of the tactile elements of those components and the silliness that it brings. All right, well, that's it for me. This is Mike DiLisio signing off from Dice Tower headquarters.